All right, good afternoon. Geez, I broke up a little bit there. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our leadership, Elevate Your Leadership. It's our first meeting for 2022. Super excited. Hopefully I'm coming through okay. Seem to be freezing a little bit here all of a sudden. But we're super excited about having you all here. And Cheryl, I know we're doing this Thursday. We just our first one of the year. We're not going to do next Thursday. Because we'll be in Orlando doing a live New Year's retreat, which I'm super excited about.
Oh my gosh. That is going to be unbelievable. And Paul, I'm so grateful that we have the opportunity to stream that for people who can't make it.
Yes, absolutely. So if anybody wants to still go to that, you can go to ygYevents.com and you can enroll there. Just get rid of this thing here. Something's causing my computer to not work right. And Cheryl, I'm actually leaving a day early. I'm going down to Florida on Wednesday.
To lay in the sun.
I was going to say to see my mom / lay in the sun. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the tan's fading a bit. So I'm super glad we're going back down there to just put some touch on that, you know.
My tan's fine, Paul.
Oh my gosh. Well, that leads us into the topic for today, which is the law of pain. And we didn't plan this out. We just go in order, and I open up the book and I'm like, okay, I'm almost forgot which one we left off on in 2021. And for the first one to be the law of pain, I was like, that's an interesting way to start off 2022, but it is a great lesson.
Yes. I love it. I really think that it can, if you don't look at it the way that we talk about it today, it will definitely change your mindset.
Yes. It is a great lesson. So we're working out of the 15 Laws of Growth by John Maxwell. And we're on law number 8 today, which is law of pain. And the law of pain states that good management of bad experiences leads to great growth. That is fantastic. And so this is actually not part of the class, but one of my favorite quotes from John Maxwell, which kind of fits into this whole lesson here, is the only people who have a problem are people who don't have a problem. So where he kept on looking at, everyone says, I wish I had less problems in life. Like, that is not what you want. You want more problems, because every single time you have a problem, we'll see throughout this class here, nothing but good things happen. So Cheryl, let's talk about.
No, Val, not nothing but good things.
Nothing but good things happen.
It means you have growth. It doesn't necessarily mean. I love how you tried to slip that in there. Nothing but good things happen if you have problems. What?
Let's talk about types of pain, Cheryl, because I know you have a pain that you are passionate about.
I do have a pain that I'm passionate about. It's a pain in the keister, if you will. And that would be anything electronic. You guys, I could literally look, I know what I'm doing. I feel like I know what I'm doing after like 4 years with Paul, because he like explains things and do this and do that. So I'm like, okay. And so every time I have a problem, he's like, did you do this? I'm like, what are you talking about? Of course I did that. I already know to do that. That's not the problem. And so anyway, I just am like, oh, and I don't even like to really say that, Paul, because let me tell you, with this pain, I have learned so much.
Yeah, well, we spent a long time the past couple of days just trying to get you into Notion to see these notes. So that was
yes.
It's always a challenge. Is your password situation is always.
It is.
That's another pain.
It is a challenge. It is.
But there's all kinds of pains out there. There's financial stress. There's bad health, which tons of people are experiencing right now. There's conflict in our lives, change in our lives. There's hard decisions that we have to make often. Relationship losses happen. And my favorite that John brings up, Cheryl, is the pain of being stupid.
Oh my gosh, that is my favorite one too. But I think everybody has had some stupid things happen to them, right? I mean, like, really, I could think of a few myself, but why do I need to bring
let's
those
tell a
up?
story here, Cheryl. What's a stupid moment for you there?
Listen, let's talk about John's stupid move, because that takes.
Why do I think you probably have a story that rivals John's here?
You know I do, Paul, when I drive a U-Haul up underneath the McDonald's sign, okay, and get stuck.
That is a good one right there.
And rip the whole top awning off and start driving away with the McDonald's awning on the top of my U-Haul truck. That there.
At noon.
Oh, yeah. Well, and then I just sat there while the whole line backed up for the first hour with the manager screaming in my window and me like rolling it up and rolling it down and rolling it up and rolling it down. Yeah. So there you go. That's that there is stupid.
Well, so John Maxwell is not as probably as stupid as what John did. John got a gift from a friend, put in his carry-on luggage, got into a private plane, flew home, got busy, forgot he put it in his carry-on, went back to the airport through security. And as it was going through the x-ray machine, he's looking at the screen, just happened to be looking at it. And he's like, oh my God, there's a gun. And he was shocked himself that A, that there was a gun in his bag, and B, that he just said that out loud in an airport.
Yeah.
So
I did like, though, that he did think about it once, but he was writing.
Yeah.
And he did think about, oh, that's right. I better get that gun out of my carry-on case. But he was writing. So he said he didn't really want to get up and get it out. And so he just left it in there. And then off he went.
Yeah. And I've done things like that in my life. And since then I've learned
tell
that.
us, Paul.
Well, I don't have anything specific, but what I can tell you now is when I think of something that's like super important along, not maybe at that level, but pretty close to it, I go do it right then and there, because I know I'll forget about it when I'm at the airport or wherever I'm going, that's that important. So the moral of the story there is if you think of something really important to do, go do that right now, no matter what you're doing there. But the point is that everyone has bad experiences. There's no way around that. You're not going to be like, this isn't a class about how to have less bad experiences in life or have less problems. That's not going to happen. So the problem is that very few people make bad experiences positive experiences. Okay, so there's a skill there involved in turning these bad things into positive experiences. So the $1 million question of this class is, how do you turn something dark into something bright? So that's the thing. And Cheryl, I know you love this quote here that we have about poker.
Oh yeah, success in life does not come from holding a good hand, but in playing a poor hand well. I love that.
That is so good. Yeah.
Because you're not always going to be dealt a good hand every single day.
No.
So just learn how to play the bad hand well, and believe me, it works.
Absolutely. So how do we turn pain into gain, Cheryl?
Well, first of all, the number one thing that you have to do is you have to choose, and each of us has to choose to have a positive life stance. And I love that. I do love that, because as I was thinking about that and really like, what is a positive life stance? What is that? I mean, is that something that you feel like you have? And I can for sure say that I feel like I have a positive life stance. Absolutely. I feel like I've always had one, like my whole life, not just now, not just in the last 20 years, but really always had a positive life stance. And I think that's super important. And I love, Paul, that it's a choice that each of us get to make.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that these 5 things we're going to rattle off to you now and talk about, John has actually laminated, put it on a piece of paper and laminated it, and carries around with him wherever he goes. So let's go through these 5 things, Cheryl. What's number 1?
Life is filled with good and bad. There's no way around it. And the thing that I always think about is that if we didn't have bad, you would have no idea what good was. So what good is, right? So you just wouldn't know. So you have to have the opposite of good, which is bad. And, and I really believe in this whole idea that yes, bad things happen to good people too. It's for every single one of us. It's, nobody gets out of this alive. No, I'm kidding. Nobody gets out of life without having both the good and the bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love this, Cheryl, because as we're teaching all these different classes, there's certain words that keep on popping up. And the word I see popping up more now than ever is awareness.
Oh,
and it's so important to just because he reads this to bring more awareness. We know life is full of good and bad things like that. That's the statement of the day. No, but it's reading this over and over and over again periodically, throughout the week, and reminding yourself, because when something bad happens, don't act shocked. We just told you that life is filled with good and bad. So when something bad happens, don't be like, I can't believe that happened. It's going to happen.
yeah.
We're telling you right now. What's number 2, Cheryl?
Some of the good and bad, I can't control.
This is a tough one for me. But
I'd like to just not be able to control the good. I want to be able to control the bad. When I look at that, I think if I could just control the bad, then I could fix it. But it doesn't matter to me if I can control the good. Right? Isn't that funny?
It's all good, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's the way I like to look at it.
Let it roll.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's bringing the awareness that, that whole serenity prayer, that I struggle with to this day, that just gotta have the serenity for the things you can't change, and understand that there are things in life you just can't change. It's out of your control. So again, bringing awareness to that. What's number 3, Cheryl?
Some of the good and some of the bad is going to find you.
Yeah. Doesn't matter who you are, like you said, Cheryl,
Yeah.
it just, it's going to find you.
Yeah, no matter what. And then number 4 is, if I have a positive life stance, the good and the bad will become better. So that's like to me, that is so important to understand. If you decide to have the positive life stance, then the good and the bad will become better, which I love that. It's kind of like a promise.
I love it too. But as we learned from Tony Robbins, there's pain and pleasure. And that's kind of the pleasure statement. And more people are impacted by pain, to avoid pain. That's the main goal of most people and most mindsets. So the last one, which is kind of like a restatement of this, is that if I have a negative life stance, the good and the bad will become worse. And that's something to really take to heart, because you got a reason to change this negative life stance if you have one, and understand that everything that's good and bad will become worse with the negative life stance.
Right. Which I love. And so I think all of us need to choose right here and now to have a positive life stance. And I still love that word choose, right? Because you get to choose, every single person gets to choose for themselves, and then turn around and teach your kids how to do the same thing. Which is
so many times, Cheryl, when we have something bad happen to us, our mind gets kind of sideways, and we don't realize that there's decisions here or choices here. We just get one track mind, So I love that we're bringing awareness to that word choose, that I know this is really bad, but I still have a choice, and I just choose to have a positive life stance on this.
Yeah. And I love if you encircle yourself with people who believe and think the same way that you do, or teach them, these things that we're learning here. Just like I was teaching Angelica some of these things, and then she got a hold of Tony Robbins, and she just went crazy for Tony Robbins. So now it doesn't matter what happens in our day. If I get like upset or anything, she's like, now, Mom, what is the meaning you're putting on that? And I'm like, oh my gosh.
He now has Paul living with her.
Yeah, it's right. But it's good because it reminds me, and I do love that, and I do appreciate it.
Yeah, actually, that's where next thing we're going to talk about, Cheryl, is we want to embrace the value of bad experiences. Sounds crazy, but literally it's you should value bad experiences. Embrace the pain and develop creativity. And part of that creativity is what you just mentioned, Cheryl, where when something bad happens, and we instantaneously go into our subconscious mind comes up with a meaning to that. And consciously, if we could just take a quarter second and say, what else could this mean?
Yeah.
It's just so powerful. It's made a huge difference in my life since I heard that. And I know you've had some things recently that you kind of had a meaning to, and then you changed the meaning to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you another way that I look at this is when somebody says, when bad things happen to you, like I equate that a lot of the times to losing, right? So if I lose in a game, or if I lose anything like in life, if it's not going the way that I think that it should be going, I mean, the only way you can grow is through failure, which kind of makes me sick when I say it, but that's true. That is the only way that we can grow. So that's what we're saying. When bad things happen, that is the only time. And Paul, I never knew this. I never knew that the only time that you can really grow is through losing, or through bad experiences, or through that. It's not when you're winning. It's not when everything is fantastic and wonderful, which how great would that be? Like, that would be so awesome. I've learned so much because everything is perfect. I would love that, but that's not the case, right? But once you realize that, then that's when we start looking at like this positive life stance that we have to have, but also that changing the meaning of things can definitely help us. But how can we grow in this situation, or where we're at? How can we grow in this situation that I'm in, I guess, is something that always comes to my mind now.
Sure. I mean, I was in high school, I got out, went to the Marines. And when you go to the Marines, you are saying, give me something hard, give me some problems. And that struggle, that hard time in my life made me way better. Then I decided to go to college. Again, it's a struggle. There's problems involved. All those things make you better. So we're almost looking for what's the next challenge out there. And I know Cheryl came up with this great concept called the cookie jar, where we're just constantly, what else could I throw in the cookie jar? But it's something that you haven't done before. It's something that is outside the box of yours. That'll be a stretch. But when you do it, it makes you that much more stronger for anything else in life.
Yeah, I love that.
So let's talk about pain principles. There's 4 pain principles that I think are super powerful. So number 1, Cheryl, is pain brings reality into my life.
Yeah, well, isn't that the truth? It's like, wake up.
Yeah, I mean, when good, everything's good's happening, it's like a big party, everything's great, fantastic. But when the pain comes in, you got to realize that there's some reality here too. So everybody has spring, summer, fall, and winter in their lives. So, embrace the winners, that we're actually going through right now. And, it brings a lot of reality, especially in the past couple of years, there's been a lot of reality in everyone's life about things. So what's number 2, Cheryl?
Number 2 is pain allows me to reflect and evaluate.
Yeah. I heard this all the time about teams that win the Super Bowl and teams that lose the Super Bowl. The team that loses it, they're like, okay, well, we need a better defense, or we need this. And it's how you can reflect on things and evaluate them and make them better. And those teams always get better the next season. But the team that won the Super Bowl, they can go out and party and stuff and having a good time, and they don't necessarily reflect and evaluate things or make any changes because they think they're perfect. And then they get whooped the next year because the other team, went to work and really improved themselves from that pain that they experienced from losing.
Yeah, I think the way that I look at it too is that we are all so busy and so caught up in making things better, right? Making things better for ourselves, for our families. We're getting healthier. We're all trying to make money somehow. We're all like in the middle of life. And I just find it so fascinating whenever something, right? Pain, some kind of painful something happens, you hear in these stories that it's like, especially if it's a lot of pain or a big, like, let's just say a near-death experience, it's like, it's like a screeching halt, and it's time to reflect on the way, in the stories that I've read about, the way that they were living life, or the way that they were doing things, and evaluate if that's what's important to them, if what they were doing is important to them. And I think that most people change that. And that is the growing and learning experience. When pain becomes or when pain happens to any of us, it really does allow us to just stop and reflect and evaluate how we want to move forward, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. The number 3 thing is that pain motivates me to make a change.
Yes.
You know, and I love this, you know, that there's in my business career over my life, there's been a lot of times where things were going good, but I knew it was just good. And then almost, especially looking backwards, I wasn't saying this necessarily then, but looking backwards for sure, I'm saying, thank God that bad thing happened, because it went from good to not good anymore. And then I was like, okay, now I'm going to make a change. And then I did something different, and my life took off like a rocket ship. This happened numerous times in my life. And it was always that time where things are good, you know, but they're just not great. So, you know, I love that quote that the worst enemy of great is good. You know, too many people are living good and they're like, I don't want to rock this. But when things fall apart and get bad, then you take some massive action, do something different. And that's how people achieve greatness. So I love that. And the last one is that pain humbles me. So we always want to come back and say, you know, you're not as great as you think you are. You know, there's bad things that happen to everybody. So it's definitely humbling when a bad thing happens.
Yeah.
So this is, I know, Cheryl, this is you know, probably a near and dear quote to you. You know, I know you went through a lot of pain, a lot of struggles in your life. So talk to us about this next quote.
So the next quote is, I would have never asked for this, but now I would never not ask to experience this. So it's like, you know, would you ever ask now, like the point that you're at, not to experience the things that you've gone through, because you wouldn't be the person you are today where you're at. And you also would not have grown to the person that you've become, which I think that that's for all of us. You know, we're on a journey here to do just that, to become better, to be of service to people, to be there to uplift and support really the human race, right? I mean, that's why we're here. We're here to help, to support, and to be better each and every day ourselves. So I think that that's what that reminds me of, that that quote there.
Yeah. And I think about all the people listening to this recording now or in this live class, and all the different difficulties they've gone through in their life. I mean, I'm sure some of the things would just, you know, make us fall to our knees with this different stories out there. And to think that everyone's going to say that I would have never asked for this, but now I would never ask not to experience this or experience that, whatever that was in the past. It's a pretty powerful statement, but I guarantee you it's true in every single situation, because every, you know, they said, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's absolutely true. Absolutely true. So Cheryl, this was a weird story for me. So John ends this whole thing telling a donkey story that I'm like horrified about.
It is the best story ever.
So this donkey falls into this well.
And he's devastated. And he's making all this noise and saying,
oh, crying and all this. Yeah. And the owner's like all messed up. He's like, oh my God.
And he can't figure out how to get him out. He's like, there's no way. And he's talking to all the neighbors. And you know how farmers are. They talk to you. Everybody come over, gather around. Let's figure out how to fix the problem.
Well, everyone's got an idea on how to get the donkey out. None of the ideas work. And the guy's all sad. He's crying. He's like, well, listen, let's just bury the donkey alive.
No, he doesn't say that, Paul.
Yeah, he did.
Said that the well needs to be covered up anyway. And so we'll just start covering up the well.
That's burying the donkey alive. The donkey's in the well.
No one ever said about burying the donkey alive. Covering up the well.
Well, what's going to happen to the donkey when the well's covered?
Well, I don't know. What is his stance on life? Is his stance on life that he's being buried?
Listen, I'm telling you, in the story because I was like, this is crazy.
No,
You're going to bury them. They did not know what's going to happen.
Listen, it's obvious if the donkey has the right stance on life. Because
this donkey's got the best stance ever here.
Yeah. Well, you have to have this is the whole point. Is your stance on life has to be this way, the way that the donkey has. Like the farmer didn't have that stance on life.
He was going to bury the donkey alive.
Right.
So every
right.
time they threw the dirt into on top of the donkey shook it off, fell off of him, and then it ended up building up and up and up.
And
And
he would step it up.
he would
He'd
step up every
step on
single
the
time
dirt.
more dirt came in.
Yep. And
So then the
every
donkey just
single
walks
time.
out of the well by himself.
Yeah. Every single time that the dirt was shoveled in, then he would shake it off and step it up. And that's the whole point. Shake it off, whatever it is, and step up.
But my point was that nobody putting the dirt in there thought that was going to happen. It wasn't like that was the plan. All right. So moving on to my favorite quote I have from Wayne Dyer. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. You know, I heard that 100 times, never really understood what it meant until recently. And it's so true. Like you just have to start looking at things differently. And those things are going to change, and they do. Whatever you have in your past, I can't encourage you enough to ask yourself, what else could that mean? Because you've given everything in your life a meaning. So the big shift in my life was looking back at all the things that were horrible and just asking, well, what else could that mean? And I don't know if we skip over the my two, I don't know how we did this, but my two core beliefs are, number one, that everything is a learning experience. This is my brand new stance on life. And the meaning I give to everything. So what does that mean? I don't care, mention anything, good, bad, whatever. Oh, that was a learning experience. Oh, that was a learning experience. Like every single thing that happens in life to me is a learning experience. And I love to learn. So it just puts me in a great state of mind. Doesn't even matter what it is. It could be the worst thing you can imagine, learning experience. So I've really wired my brain to think that way. And the second thing that's really changed my life also is that things happen for me, not to me. You know, I hear so many people say every day, man, can't believe that happened to me. Well, it didn't. It happened for you. You know, it's there to serve you. And they're like, what do you mean? That's crazy. You know, this horrific event happened. Nope. Happened for you. Now, you may take a little bit to figure out why it happened for you. May not know instantaneously, but I'm telling you, it happened for you because you can look in the past and see how all those bad things happened for you, not to you. So I love those two core beliefs I have, Cheryl. They really have changed my life.
Yeah, they are really, really good. And it's good to always remember that, because then you just go straight to, how has this helped me? Or how is this helping me? Or, you know, because you just change the way you look at it, and just being aware of that has totally changed my life.
Yeah, absolutely. So Cheryl, we have some great classes coming up. We do this Elevate Your Leadership class every single Thursday, except for next Thursday. So we're at elevatezoom.com, password elevate. Join us live here. If you want to join, it's every Thursday at noon Pacific time. And we have some great classes coming up. We did the law of pain today. The next time we meet, which is in 2 weeks, will be the law of the ladder, which sounds really cool. So then there's a list here in the notes of all the different upcoming classes in this book. So super excited about all that, Cheryl. Thanks for all your wisdom for today. And we'll see you on Monday, where we have a review class on Monday, and then we'll do Elevate Your Mindset on Tuesday. So see you all then. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you. Awesome class.